So you're at SolarCity inside Tesla, managing a huge team. You must have got to work with some interesting people there. You got to know Elon a little bit from that as well. Like what's he good at that's different than what you're good at?
Look, I think Elon's the greatest product mind of our generation. I mean, he is just savant at his ability to design solutions. And if you think about big thinkers, he always puts the consumer first and what the consumer's needs are first. And so there's a lot to admire about Elon, but I watched him make really thoughtful decisions that were always in the best interest of the consumer, and then push employees to think big and do the best work they could ever do.
Is there an example of that with SolarCity that comes to mind?
Yeah, many. I think that one, when it came to pricing strategies for SolarCity, Elon always made a very clear thought to say, look, we need to be the price leader in the category. We need to make it accessible for more people to just go solar. And he was very passionate about that and still is on, look, this is the right technology. We need to make it available for more consumers to adopt these technologies. And so, of course, on the design side as well, aesthetics are an issue for solar. Many people, when you really study the data and you look at why they don't go solar, it's because of some of the aesthetics. And he's very thoughtful about designing these products and solutions so that they're aspirational, inspirational, but beautiful as they sit on people's homes.
When you have that level of talent in an organization pushing as hard as you guys work, it's one of the kind of most intense places. There obviously have to be trade-offs you make, and you're a very empathetic person, and Elon's a really hard charging person. Like, are there different trade-offs that you would make that complement each other differently, or ways in which you do things differently as leaders?
No, I mean, look, I think we complemented each other really well. He was very focused on the product. I was very focused on the human capital and the leadership within the organization for the business to grow. When I joined SolarCity, we had around 1,200 employees. We grew that organization to 17,000 employees. If we were hiring about 500 people a month, to give you an example, and we had 40% market share nationwide. There was no number two, Joe. We had the next 80 companies combined didn't equal our market share. So we were doing things at the time that no one else had ever done before, a couple 100,000 systems a month throughout the country. We had a big military division. We had a big utility scale group, commercial organization that were, allowing us to deploy these solutions at meaningful scale.
And then you left, and you're scaling what's now GoodLeap, which is valued at $12 billion recently. Tell us a little bit about that. What are you doing there?
Well, I think great companies try to solve big problems. And for us, there was a few problems we were trying to solve. The big one was climate change. How do we deploy sustainable solutions at scale in a meaningful way? But really, there are three critical constituents to do it. You've got to go kind of a top-down, bottoms-up. And in our case, it's the financial institutions. How do they get access to finance ESG at scale? Basically, what the banks want is the ability to finance these assets with predictable returns.
These assets are big solar infrastructure projects.
Yeah, residential solar projects, anything kind of ESG related. If they can get a 5 or 6% return on those assets in meaningful chunks, they don't want to buy them in onesie, twosie loans. They want to buy them in 30 or $40 million chunks. Mm-hmm. And so that's what we saw for the banks. If you look at kind of the ecosystem of these companies that do installation, they're desperately looking for products and solutions that can be financed for zero down and not have to rely on the customer to go to Wells Fargo to get that financing. And then if you look at the consumer wants point of sale, instantaneous, I'm approved, and where the kind of the preferential option to live a more sustainable life is also the economic option where they can save money at the same time. And GoodLeap kind of focuses on that ecosystem, B2B software technology that kind of connects that marketplace.
What was the insight that's let GoodLeap become valued so highly so quickly?
Yeah, I mean, I think similar to look, the pattern is many executives that work at large organizations see something while they're there. Yeah. And, we had a big technology team. We had about 360 software engineers within the company. Most of the tech at the time was all proprietary and being developed. Benioff saw the cloud before he left Oracle. Tom Siebel saw CRM before he left Oracle to do CRM. So I had seen patterns of great executives leave an extraordinary leader like Larry Ellison. And that what I saw was the ability to create kind of a blue ocean distributed marketplace to deploy multiple sustainable solutions. What I realized was there was a labor force that hadn't been ignited. Most of them we were hiring as W-2 employees. There's a way to empower that installation network, empower the distribution hubs of these products, but also partner with multiple manufacturers in this marketplace that would allow us to kind of deploy these solutions at a meaningful scale in a very short period of time.
So you obviously learned about the market, being in the market. What were the most important things you learned about culture or product or how to build a company that you then quickly apply? Because this thing's grown really fast. You must have taken some notes from, because you were working with some pretty good people too, even though you learned yourself a lot too, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, so if you think of kind of buy now, pay later, point of sale technology platforms, if Affirm, Klarna, Afterpay, they were very focused on kind of a digital solution that eliminated the credit card at 18% interest, where you could very quickly buy a Peloton bike.
Yep.
And my insight was, let's design the technology for the sales professionals. Let's really understand that conversation in a retail store, whether it's a Home Depot or a Lowe's, all the way to what's the conversation at the kitchen table. And if you can design that technology in a way that allows those banks to have access to that financing, that provides that instantaneous 3-second approval at point of sale, but provides the salesperson to do the job in a much easier fashion, that would enable the marketplace. And what people don't understand is, you have to create kind of all of this in a digital first solution on a phone where those sales professionals can manage their entire life, their pipeline,
Just
all
to
their
step back a
business.
little bit for people who aren't as familiar with the business, we have, so you're helping finance a solar project at a home or for a big business, and so you have the people at the kitchen table making the decision. You have somebody who's selling it to them, and then you have separately the bank, and the bank's working with the person selling it to them to help offer credit. And there's multiple banks competing to offer this credit, and there's multiple salespeople competing to sell. I think about it.
Well, think of it this way. There are multiple banks and financial institutions that want to finance it, from credit unions to sovereigns to specialty banks like Goldman
And you're the
Sachs.
layer that's helping a lot of them do that.
You're giving them access to the capital. On the front end, you have a consumer that just wants to go into a tablet, enter very few, name, address, last 4 digits of social, and know that they get an instantaneous approval versus going to Wells Fargo and going through a process to get a loan
As fast
to electrify
as
their
possible
home,
to know
right?
they do it.
So that's kind of the homeowner's situation. They want that very simple way in which they can pay for this solution, and the bank wants access to meaningful flow of capital at predictable rates and really low default rates. In the middle, you have a sales professional that has to do a job.
And so, do some of them work for you, or are you empowering others?
You're empowered. It's an enablement platform for other companies. So that sales professional now has an educated conversation with you. They may show you a design or proposal. And then the moment it comes down to how you're going to pay for it, they're going to click the GoodLeap button. No different than Square or PayPal. Yeah. And they're immediately then going to be able to have a more educated conversation about the terms of that financing. What's critical is that homeowner needs to be in a position where they can save money from the very first month. So you can have that conversation with that consumer versus saying, well, look, your ROI is going to be 7 or 8 years. It's instantaneous savings.
And what has this allowed in our country? Like, is this led to a lot more solar being put to work?
So it's going to completely transform the way homeowners electrify their home. What people don't know is 40% of all carbon emissions in the United States come from the home. And so it's not just residential solar or battery storage. I mean, the battery storage attachment rates increased significantly over the course of the last couple of years. It used to be 2 or 3%. Now it's like 25%.
25% now, wow.
Yes. So a lot of people want the ability to have backup power.
So of the people who have solar, 25% have batteries.
That's right.
That's great.
Yeah, it's great. Now, if you think about other industries like roofing as an example, roofing is a $50 billion marketplace. That's compared to residential solar, which is about a $12 billion marketplace.
But residential solar must be growing at a really fast rate.
Growing at 25% a year for residential solar. Roofing is $50 billion, but it's still all done on carbon paper.
Yeah.
We're going to change that. We're going to allow the roofing marketplace to basically use our solutions, because the roofing marketplace is also transforming over to solar. All these roofers from GAF to Owens Corning.
It relates together.
Yeah, they're all coming out with new tiles and different things basically to electrify the home and use solar on the home. If you think about that, HVAC's 50% of the load in a home. So all the HVAC providers have these energy efficient solutions they want to deploy into the marketplace. They want to get away from the 18% credit card. So when you think about GoodLeap, we'll have a digital platform that allows these consumers to finance these things very easily and do multiple things to electrify the home and have one single loan